All right. So, hello and welcome, everyone. You are here for the Epic Income Leap podcast. I'm Laura Wright, and this show is for high achieving women who are great at relationships, but maybe a little frustrated with their sales. And what we're going to talk about is what it actually takes to create predictable revenue without hustle, pressure, turning your relationships into transactions, or any of that. You're going to get to hear today a real conversation about business growth, decision making, offers, leaderships, any of those little pieces that we bring up. And you're going to be able to fill the gap between I'm doing everything right and my income is exactly where I want it to be. This is not about scripts. It's not about funnels. It's about discernment and knowing who to talk to, when to talk to them, and how to turn the right conversations into opportunities. So I'm excited today because I'm about to talk to somebody who said to me that she wants to talk with somebody else who enjoys sales as much as I do, which I don't get to do very often. So I'm very excited to connect with the lovely Frances Pratt. Frances, please take a minute and just introduce yourself to everyone, where you are, who you are, and all the good things.
Thank you. So great to be here with you. You might notice from my accent, I'm not American. I live in in Melbourne, Australia. So it's currently 5 a.m. in the morning. And don't worry, I'm okay. I like to do this for my US time. I get up early and work with clients in the US. Um, I have been in sales and selling for 30 years, and I've been running my own consulting and coaching business for 15 years. So I love selling. And more than that, what I really love is helping people crack that code of being able to do the sales thing without feeling icky and sticky and yucky. So my
Mm.
favorite people to work with are women who are purpose-led, Christian, who are awesome at what they do, but just struggle with that piece around, I don't want to feel like a fraud.
Mm.
I don't want to push people, uh, all of those things. So yeah,
Well,
that's
let's dive
that's
in
what I
there
do.
because you and I share this in common is I actually think sales is love. It's what I say in all my sign-offs. Yes. Oh, okay. So good
Yes.
stuff. I think it is service. I think it is the only, maybe not only, but the number one thing you need in order to fulfill your purpose. Because if you can't sell and create a client experience or get someone on board with your opportunity, you don't do your thing. Here's my curiosity.
Mm,
Why do you think women struggle so much with what is considered the concept of sales? I'm not even going to say actual sales, but like that worry that they
right.
have, that feeling like they're going to be a fraud, the sliminess. Why do you think that shows up for women?
And to be fair, I think I'm seeing a growing number of men
Mm-hmm.
also.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so maybe in the last throes of the macho world, we're maybe coming to a more feminine way of doing things. Sorry, that's a bit of an aside. But
Mm-hmm.
so so I call it crocodile selling.
Tell me more about that.
And okay, so have we met people who do that form of shouting at you, telling with before they listen, trying to manipulate you? Yes, we've all been in those situations. And frankly, we want to have a shower afterwards because it's revolting, right? And I call that crocodile selling because, yes, there are still crocodiles on Earth, but that doesn't mean we're in the age of the dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm.
That age of selling is done, done, done. And so when I work with people, that's one of the first things I work on is mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So I say to people, selling is about helping someone make a great buying decision for them, not for me. So it's
Mm-hmm.
process focused and it's outcome neutral. And the second thing I think is that because we have this idea in our head, I think we've got the idea that if we start the dance with them and we show them that we can do the waltz or do the thing, then naturally they're going to keep dancing with us. Well, yes, but we've got to ask if we're leading the dance. then we can't stop mid-song. Like that's just confusing to the buyer.
Mm,
So I think there's a real disconnect between understanding what the leadership leading a sales dance looks like. And I think once people understand that they actually need to ask, and not that they need to, the client's expecting it.
hmm
And when you don't, it's like you're in the middle of a dance and suddenly the person who's dancing with you walks away.
Yeah.
Like that's just confusing. The music's still going. What? What the?
I love that you just said that because it's literally the moment of asking for the sale. We have somehow been taught that asking for the sale is something that is either not something you should do or isn't required. And it's funny how it is actually one of the most simple pieces, but it sounds like people get started and then they wait for the buyer to want to buy versus you, the seller, to lead. I love how you say leading the dance. What would you say is the most important piece about someone feeling comfortable with doing sales? Like if someone shows up on your doorstep, and I agree with you. I recently brought on a new client who happens to be male, and he's struggling with some very similar things that women struggle with when it comes to sales. But
Right.
what do you think is that most important first step?
So I think the three areas that I tend to work on is mindset first. So you've got to think about it the right way. And then there's no point just thinking about it and then sitting on your couch because that's still not going to get any clients in your door. So we've got to get into activity. But
hmm
now that we've got the right mindset, so if if we think, okay, well, selling is helping someone, and so then I don't tell people what to do. I say to them, if you need to help someone, where does that start? And they go, well, I've got to know what they want. Right.
hmm
I've got to know what their problem is. Right.
hmm
So where does that start? It starts with listening. So I've got a really simple 4 steps that I use with people, which is listening. Imagine. Finding fit, which
Mm,
is not permission for me then as the seller to tell my life story from birth to now, but just an applied, oh, you said this and I can help you with this. Or you said this and I know someone who can help you with this. And so it's an applied version of you and what you do or your company so that the person goes, oh, she's listened and now
mm,
she's applying her beautiful, wonderful, gorgeous knowledge to me. And that makes me feel good. And then I don't like the term handling objections because you handle a snake, right?
mhm,
And they're not snakes. They're drops of love, right?
mhm,
In the buying mindset, if you go into asking questions, which are another word for objections,
mhm.
um, what does that actually mean? It means they're thinking of buying from you. So why people try to push them away, I do not know. So
I love this.
so I call it, you've got to love objections. You've got to take that gold,
Mm,
you've got to love it to death, and then you've got to ask for the next piece of gold. And then finally, I've got a new ABC because I hate always be closing because that's
Yes.
rubbish. That's part of that, crocodile selling. I
Mhm.
call it always be creating value. So
Mm,
when you've sold well, when they feel good, you feel good, the
mhm.
society's a better place, you get to smile with your kids. Like that is the product of good selling.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I always teach. I love them when we have these kind of conversations. The moment of when you're on a sales conversation, it's not something you do to somebody. It's something you do with them. It's about helping
Yes,
you see if you're a fit for them to see if they're a fit for you, seeing
right.
if you can actually help each other. And an aligned no is a great thing. An aligned yes is a great thing. If you have
Yes.
misalignment, we don't move forward. So, okay, I have to ask this question because you obviously know sales. Take me back in time
Right.
to an epic income leap that you created for yourself. Maybe a season where you raised your rates and felt magnificent, a season where you maybe sold like, I always think back, one of my clients, she brought in, oh, it was something wonderfully ludicrous, like, I don't know, it was about $570,000 over the summer this year. And it was because she sat down, we came up with a goal. It didn't even take a lot of clients. I think it was like 7 or 8 clients, but she did something that was an epic leap that changed herself. Take me back in time, either in a recent past or a long past, an income leap you created for yourself by activating your sales superpower.
Right. Oh, I love that. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, can I tell you two stories?
Neat.
Okay, so last century, where I love saying that.
We share that. I said something, I had to update my bio, and it was instead of 20 years, it was 30 years of experience. And I was like,
Right.
yeah, because it was the 1990s when I started.
Same. Um, so when I first started in selling, I was working for this company and I was the only salesperson and um the guy who owned it didn't set me any sales targets.
Mm,
So I was like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna double my sales year on year. And I was there for 5 years. So um I ended up selling I think it was $4 million worth of stuff um, in that final year. And so sometimes the reason I'm telling that story isn't to go, oh, isn't Frank great? It's to say sometimes when we have the novice brain or we don't
mm,
know what's impossible,
hmm
we can set targets that seem wild but are really doable.
hmm
It's doable. It's got to start in the mind. I've been rereading, that 10x is easier than 2x.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And there's so many things in that. So if you sit and go, okay, well, this year or this month or this quarter or whatever, I'm going to close $100,000 or I'm going to close $1 million. I don't care what the number is. Great. Well, then let's break that into some sort of understanding of where's that going to come from?
yeah.
Who does that look like? What? And instead of, I think we can get all up in our head. And someone was said, "Oh, yeah, but that's really hard." And I go, "Well, but what if it was easy?
Hmm
What would it look like if it was easy?" So we can train our brains to actually make things easy. So that's the first story is, you know, anything's possible. Henry Ford, wasn't it, who said, um, whether you think you're right or whether you think, no, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right.
You're right. I love that you said that. It's funny you said Henry Ford because I literally just spoke with a person in Michigan the other day, and he has a goal to hit 100 million in not earned revenue, but he's a wealth manager, so he's going to be management.
Oh,
And
managing, yes.
yeah, and I had this conversation with him, and the question we asked at the end was, we can do the mapped out path over the next 10 years. Here's how you can do it. But what would it look like if you had one client that had 100 million in wealth and you could
Yeah,
do it with one client? And it's not that he's going to go get one client and get it done, but it was a change of a mindset that
mindset,
had him think different thoughts. And I think that's what you're talking about is your novice
right.
brain said, I don't know what the cap is, so I'm just going to double my revenue for 5 years, which is actually pretty freaking remarkable. That's story number one, and that's a really good story. Tell me story number two.
So story number two is when I was started working for myself. So that's a story about working for someone else, and people go, "Oh, yeah, but it's easier working for someone else." So story number two is me selling my own time and effort and experience and brain. So I'd been working for a few years in my consulting business, and I was doing this opening piece of work, which was it was a set piece of work. It ended up taking me like 4 days to do, and I was charging like $2,000. And I was just like, oh, this is a grind,
We've
right?
all been there. Ladies, gents, everybody needs to hear. We've all been there with the
Oh,
first thing you do is this tiny little amount of money and an extreme amount of work. So just no shame allowed. It is a thing that
no,
happens.
it's
Hmm.
and I wanted to tell this story because I'm a sales expert, right? So just because I'm a sales expert doesn't mean I'm not human. So
Mm-hmm.
when we're selling our own thing, sometimes we get in our own way.
Mm-hmm.
And so on this one day, I had two potential client meetings, and I thought to myself, well, that's it. I'm just going to double my price. So I'm going to go from $2,000 to $4,000 for this thing. Anyway, so I had this meeting, the first one, and I'm sure that my voice went up at the end. Like I was going,
Question mark.
$4,000?
Mhm.
Right? Like there was
Mhm.
that hesitancy there, and I heard it in my voice, and I thought, oh no. Anyway, um, funny. And um, both of those clients said yes.
Mhm.
So I got back in my car after the second meeting, and I thought, you idiot,
Mhm.
Fran. You know, here you are, you're leaving money on the table.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, we've had
I
that.
was right. I was
Hmm.
also thrilled with myself that I had cracked that. And so I use that story when I'm working with people because um, the price that we set in our brain isn't necessarily the price the client wants to pay. So
Mm.
I often say to people, my husband, my husband runs a shed building and engineering business, and he'll often say to me, "Oh, the client won't buy that." I said, "Well, how do you know? It's not up to you to say what the client
Hmm.
will buy. It's up to the client to say. Let's not confuse the job of selling and buying. It's
Yes.
my job to put together exactly what I think you should buy, and with good reason, not,
Hmm.
all the gold in China or whatever, the tea in China. Anyway,
Hmm.
they do have
All
a
of
lot
it.
of gold. Yeah, they have a lot of everything. Um, it's my job to put the proposition, to
Mhm.
explain why I think that's a good fit for them. And I've got a child entering.
No worries. If you have a kiddo, take care of things.
Hi, Freddie. Oh, yes, darling. I'm on a podcast. Do you want to come and meet Laura? It's 5:30 in the morning.
What you doing up, Munchkin?
Go back to bed, darling. Love you.
Oh, I love these real life moments. Every time I work with somebody, I'm always like, there will be kids, there will be animals. Let them come in and say
Oh,
hello.
well, hello then.
Oh,
And right on cue.
oh,
This
mine's
is
sleeping.
Reginald. This is Reginald.
Hi, Reginald. You're very handsome. My little one, Beatrix, is sleeping down here.
Oh, oh,
She's a little
Beatrix.
King Charles.
He's a big bullhead.
He's
Go.
beautiful.
Can you go sit on your bed? On your bed? No, 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 no. You can just sit on your bed, please. On your bed. Good boy. On your bed. On your bed. On your bed. Oh,
But what if I
sorry.
climbed on your lap and snuggled with you instead of my bed?
I know. 37 kilos. I think that's like 90 pounds or something.
We had a Bernese mountain dog for quite a many years, and he was our first one was up to about 150 pounds, which is I think I can't get the currency conversion in it, but our last one was like 130 at one point, and we slimmed him down. But like the big dogs, that's I like the very big, and then I also have a little tiny ferocious one. Okay, where were we in our grand scheme? All the good things, and don't worry, we'll piece it together in all the best
Yeah,
ways.
yeah, that's fine. So we were talking about the role between buying and
Yes,
selling.
yeah.
So our role is to
Don't assume that somebody will or
uh,
won't
uh,
buy. Your job is to package it and help them see it.
right, and to explain what it is, and to answer questions, and to prompt them for questions. and it's their job to make a decision about whether that's a good thing for them or not.
Hmm.
So
I know I'm.
that separation is so important. Um, and I often say to uh, I've got a membership, and one of my favorite things that I say with the folks that I uh, see weekly in my membership is when you hear an assumption in your brain, make it a question.
Okay, that was a golden nugget. It's really interesting because there was something you were saying earlier that made me think every time someone asks the question, they're actually asking, how can I buy this from you? That's a phrase that I
Right.
like to use because, like, whenever I have clients who come back to me and they're
Yeah.
like, the person has this other question and I don't think they're going to buy. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. People stop asking you questions if they're not interested. Your
Right.
role is to help guide and build trust. And what I always know is this, I don't know if you experience this as well, but I'm usually collecting the credit card from my new clients at minute 67 of the call. And why I say it like that is because there's this place where we're building trust, we're finding out there's a fit, and they've got just one more question and just one more
Yeah.
question and one more question. I think a lot of people think that is prove it to me, overcome my objection. What I hear is, I want to know if you're going to be there for me. I want to know if I can trust you. I want to know if it's
Oh,
safe for me to ask. That's what I hear. So I always let people ask one more question and one more question. And then we go to the place of collecting the card. Let's talk about money for a second, because I think when it comes to sales, it's very easy for us to talk about the concept of sales, but people are buying and there's dollars and cents and pounds and money and all the pieces that go with it. If you were looking over and talking to a new prospect or a client, how do you approach money? And what I mean by that is I have a very strong philosophy of talking about money. Let's I love that you said if you're going for 100,000 or a million, the number isn't mattering, but it's like, what are we going for? How do you both feel about money and how do you approach talking about money?
so um, I think money's such an important thing because, we need it to feed the dog and the kids and the
Mm-hmm.
things. And also, money has become a proxy for kind of personal validation. And
Mm,
whilst I don't necessarily agree with that, I remember when I was working, I used to always be the number one salesperson, no matter what the team was. And I didn't do it by stepping on other people's heads, right? You see those salespeople who are kind of
mhm,
elbows out.
mhm,
No, I brought everyone with me, but I
mm,
just was always on top. Um, and that wasn't because I was greedy, it was because I was smart. I worked out the selling system, I worked out how people buy, and then um, I sold to that.
mhm,
Um, and so money was never important to me as a salesperson. And so when we think about a salesperson, they're flashy and they love money and they're really motivated by that. Well, yeah, some of them are, um,
mm,
but not all. And you don't
mhm.
have to be motivated by money to be good at selling, but you
Yes.
do have to be motivated to sell. So, um, later on and now what I do with my one-on-one clients is I use a advanced insight in a metrics profile tool. And
Mm,
so what that looks like at is um, your attitudes. So attitudes to money, attitudes to trust, to there's 72 of them, so I won't go through them all. But, but basically that allows me to work with them around where are their strengths and what can they lean into and trust themselves on,
mm,
and where do they need to kind of slow down their thinking, um, and perhaps build some structures or things that will help them. So there's attitudes, and then it shows you their value set. So
mhm,
do they have an economic return value? Do they value that? My economic return is like, no, not very big. But
mhm,
my individualistic and my political are really high. So what does that mean?
mm,
When I'm selling, I have the way. the yellow brick road, I call it.
Mm.
And I want to invite people to skip down the yellow brick road with me. So that's my individualistic and the political, because I want us to do it together. Um,
Oh.
and
I
so,
love that. That's like telling people you don't have to be focused on the money. What you need to understand is what's the important outcome, and sales helps the transaction allows you to get to the outcome, which might be to help more people, to give them a better pathway, to create efficiency, and it might also be to create money. It's not a one way ticket to get there.
no, I'm working on a new book at the moment. So my first book is called More Sales, Less Marketing: How
Mhm.
to Take the Yuck Out of Selling.
I love that. And ladies, we'll make sure there's a link there so you can go check it out.
Oh yeah, thank you. Um, and the book I'm working on now is called The Evolving Value Proposition: How to
Mm.
Build Your Business Around Your Client. And so what I'm helping people think about is I think that um, value is a kaleidoscope. Do you remember having kaleidoscopes when you were a
Hmm.
kid? So
Yep.
all these beautiful, wonderful colors, and you'd bump it and it'd change.
Hmm.
And the change didn't make it ugly and wrong. The
Mm.
change made it, oh, look, it's in a new
There's something
pattern
new.
now, right? And so that's how I think about client engagements as well. They're not bog standard, they're not cookie cutter. Like Henry Ford, God bless him, was for his time, but that time is done. And we're
Mm.
not after cookie cutters. We're not after a conveyor belt. We're not after robotic selling. We're actually craving trust. I was actually just reading something before I came on to talk with you from, do you know Rachel Botsman?
Mm. Her name sounds
She,
familiar.
mm, uh, she's an academic and she's written a book on, oh, she's written many books, but she's really working in and around trust.
Hmm.
And I think, and that's one of the things she was talking about in her research was about that people are craving belonging,
Mm.
and and that's part of our job,
Hmm.
to help people belong to something.
Oh, most definitely. That's why I always say I could work with 16 different web designers at the same time and not give any of them the same advice on how to do sales or the same offer because they're going to have their voice in their way. Their ideal client's going to be different. I love that you're saying that what we're really seeking is both trust and something that's individual and customized. Okay, so here's where I want to go for a second. What's your next leap? And I ask the question because I'll position it like this. One of my former clients used to say taking bold action. And the way she would define bold is she's like, some people think bold means running up a mountain or jumping off a cliff. Sometimes being bold is having one quiet conversation. Bold is defined by how
Oh,
you
yes.
receive it. So what's your next leap? Because a leap doesn't always mean moving from a million to 10 million. A leap doesn't mean going from one-on-one clients to a group program. Sometimes a leap is, I always think about one of my beloved clients. We worked together for a year and a half and we didn't increase our revenue. And we got to the end of our thing and she's like, we didn't increase my revenue at all, Laura. And then she's like, and I'm so happy. I was like, please say the other part. And the other part was we cut her work by down to a third. Like not
Yeah,
we cut out
perfect.
2/3 of what she was doing. She worked with
Awesome.
so few clients and had so much time and resource, and we increased her profit. So it's not always about more as the leap forward, but it might be. So what is your next leap?
So this is part of it. Since last year, I've been slowly poking my nose into the US.
Welcome, welcome. Come on.
I know, right? It's so much fun. And so that's really fun. And I'm really enjoying that. And I think the other thing is, I don't know, I woke up in December sometime and I just decided that I was done doing it in half measure.
Mm,
And so I have been on fire since then. So I've scripted out my book. So I know exactly what I need to write. I just need to write it. I've scripted out another a fiction book as
Ooh.
well. I've developed my own tea blends. I know it's going everywhere. I've created this thing that I call the House of Metis. So my business is called Metisan, and Metis is the Greek muse of wisdom and good counsel. So
Ooh.
when I developed my company, I thought, well, if an artisan can do art, then a metisan can do metis. So
Oh.
I've developed a structure called the House of Metis that looks at what, if I'm going to talk about client centricity and trust and value, and from an organizational perspective, what are the foundations of that? What are the six pillars that support that growth? Not just from a rainmaker, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, but from a team.
Mm.
And then what brings that together with the roof? So I'm super excited to where I'm at with that is I've just shared that out with like a dozen people and I'm getting their feedback and I love the idea of what I call the minimum lovable product, not minimum viable product.
Ooh.
Do you,
That's a great one.
Well,
I like
I
that one.
I thought of that term years and years ago, and I was so excited that I was so clever, and I thought I am the first person in the whole world to say that, like you do, right? And then you Google it, and it's already out there. I was devastated, but that's all right. I still use it.
You can use the term as long as you're not trademarking.
No, 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 exactly. So the reason I use the term lovable, and I encourage people listening to really listen to what I've got to say here, right? When we use the term viable, minimum viable product, like a small thing, we think viable. Oh, what can I do? Okay, so it's an insular word. But the concept of the minimum viable product is actually what can you do that people will buy, that
Mm.
that meets demand in the market. So the reason I use the term lovable is that yes, build a thing and go test it. Build a thing, go test it, and then iterate around that. And so that's exactly what I'm doing with my own products.
Mm.
And yeah, so I'm getting some great feedback, both in improvements um, and 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 sometimes I'm a really good storyteller, but sometimes I can be too abstract because the story is big to me. I can see it all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've had some really good feedback, and so I'm looking forward to
I
getting
love
some
that.
more. And yeah.
That's what, like the most important part is you woke up and made a decision and then started taking action. I think it's phenomenal. Francis, how do people find you if they're looking around on the interwebs and they're here in the States and want to get to you in the Australia or vice versa or anywhere around the world? How do people find you?
Okay, so I've got a membership program which is called Accelerate Sales. And I've got a link. I do most of my posting on LinkedIn. So you can find me there. And I have a website, metasan.com.au. But I have to be honest, I use that the least.
Yeah, well, I have a sense that you and I share something, and just so everyone knows, they'll be in the show notes so you can link and get to it. You and I are
Yeah.
about relationships, and going to a website can be very static, and I bet you like to have conversations. So let's do this before we wrap up for with our listeners. Let's say this: you have the microphone to the world. What is one thing that you want to share?
Oh, that's such a beautiful question. So, um, so I'm on a mission and I have a theme song. Um, I know, think Ally McBeal, but I've got multiple,
Oh, I love that.
but I have multiple theme songs. But the one that guides me is I wanna teach the world to
Mhm.
sell in perfect harmony because
Mhm.
selling is a beautiful thing and it ought not to be uh, a discordant. It is harmony and it's beauty and tapestry and all the things. And so I just encourage people to lean into that.
I freaking love that. I'm so glad that you're here, Frances, because I believe in the same thing in sales. So we'll bring this to a beautiful close. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing everything with us. And just remember, ladies, if you're listening in and this resonated, I want you to make sure you first and foremost go to the show notes, click on Frances's links, go check her out, go follow her. But what I also want you to know is that you don't need more leads. You don't need a bigger audience. You don't need to work harder. What you need is clear discernment about who you're talking to, what they need, and how to confidently support them without feeling transactional. So, if you know right now that you are ready to stabilize or grow your revenue through relationship based sales, then I want you to know, check in with me, see if working together makes sense. And I want to invite you to book a short decision making call with me because sales is decision making. You can find a link in the show notes, or you can go directly to epicatsales.com/connect. What we'll do together is we'll see what's working, what's not, and whether there's a clear path forward. No pressure, no pitch. Thanks for being here. And Frances, thank you so much for joining us. I so appreciated spending this time together with you.
You're welcome. Thank you.